Yes.
I've not heard the word avidity. Is it like addiction? I'm just not familiar with it.
It's an idea. I wouldn't say it's like addiction the way Anaya kind of is presenting it. I'd say it's like I say, okay, let me see. Okay, now what can I say? All right. It's when I have the idea, let's say, okay, now I'm going to pleasure myself, right? Because that's felt good to me before, to pleasure myself in some way, see? But my body isn't feeling that right directly. It's my mind that's saying, okay, I want to cause this experience to come up, and it's a desire then that's imposed on the body, on the breath, from the mental sphere. And so in that sense, it's a secondary desire. It's not a primary desire that is coming up. It's one that we have thought ourselves into. Yeah.
I wondered if avidity came from the word avid, which would be like passionate, and so that's not necessarily addictive. It can become so.
Yeah.
It's mostly you have a tendency to really move toward that because you have an avidity. You're avid for it. You have an avidity. That's how I thought of the word.
Yeah, I hadn't run into it like this before, but when I read it, it clicked for me because I can really see the things that I do that are, you know, where I'm acting really respecting where the breath is and what the desire is, and I'm just going with it in that moment. And the things that I kind of talk myself into based on my mind's experience of these states. So it's just a way of looking at it. When you're trying to check in and say, you know, I mean, when you get to this place, as Shakespeare said, you know, those that have the power to something but do not show the thing they are the lords and masters of their faces, others but stewards of their excellence. You know, in other words, to know that you have the power not to do something, and you know, and then you have the power to do it. By knowing that you have the power not to do it, you then have the mastery about doing it. Yeah.
This is, I'm sure I'm speaking for everyone, but this is something that I feel like I constantly struggle with. And what I notice is that when I'm in avidity, if I can pray, then a turnaround can happen. But I'm sure we're going to be doing practices that have to do with this, but I'm just curious as to how, when there's that awareness, it can be changed. I mean, is it simply getting into the breath then? Or, I mean, because I know that's the purpose of the class, but sometimes for me it seems like prayer. I mean, it's like, you know, as you're saying, like some kind of really addictive impulse. Sometimes I feel like I can only pray and just say, I don't know how to get out of this.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you know what you need to turn to. I mean, you need to turn to some higher power. You need to turn to something like that. You know, I mean, that's what prayer comes in, because when we find ourselves the slave of it, you know, but here we're just noticing. You know, there's different levels of it. Yeah, and absolutely, prayer is one of the great things to break that. Yes.
So this could be equally true of trying to reach for certain particular states or spiritual experiences, which can also be enslaving.
Yes, that's right. We can easily do that. We can be so in love, for example, with experiences of the angelic realms that we ignore and repress and don't look at where we are right here on this physical realm and what we need to do in terms of the rhythm of our life to succeed, because we have that, and we coax ourselves into it. You know, so we have, the thing is we come to learn is through working with the breath, we have a vehicle of mastery. And through working with prayer and the different divine qualities, we have another vehicle of mastery, you know. So when you, one practice from the wazifa practices that's so helpful about dealing with impulses is Yakowi, Yakowi, Yakowi. And you know, I mean, just to look at your own inner space before and after doing this wazifa and your relationship to all of the impulses that come up. And then if you say this prayer and then you go and you look there, you can see that you have clearly the choice of rising to the impulse or not. But I'm just trying to make sense of this, you know. How is it true that every impulse is sacred, and how is it true that, you know, mastery requires us to be able to not rise to any impulse that we choose not to rise to? And a lot of what we're doing with the breath is we're learning things that will allow us to have mastery in situations where we need to be fiery, for example, or where we need to be watery, or where we need to manifest a different quality than the one that is up for us. And so how do we step in a masterful way and through knowledge of the breath allow us to do that?